Beatles time travel, Beatles in politics, and more Beatles from Peter Jackson, I've got some real interesting new Beatles recommendations coming up today. And welcome into the Rock Talk studio. If you're into rock and roll books and docs and love all that good rock and roll history, but just don't have the time to sift through all the hype, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Big Rick. I do the watching, I do the reading, and I gladly do the digging, so you don't have to waste your time or money. And today, it's all about the Beatles. Beatles fans, there's more new Beatles content right now than ever, and most of it, but there are a few recent projects that I've picked out that I definitely think are worth a read and a watch. Today, I've got one documentary for you, two books, and one instant classic. And by the end of the episode, you'll know exactly why these projects stand out. So let's get it started today with one of those pieces that was really well done. And we're going to start with a documentary. It's called 1-to-1, John and Yoko. John and Yoko left London in 1971, and they moved to New York City. And for about 18 months, they lived in Greenwich Village. And what really grabbed me about this doc is how it takes a look at John and Yoko, not just as artists, but really as activists, and how quickly they became cultural lightning rods in America. The way this doc is edited, it feels almost like flipping through channels in 1972. It's fast cut, kind of a collage approach. It jumps through interviews and TV clips and political chaos. Remember, it was the Viet War time period. There's a lot of Nixon in this. And then suddenly you're dropped into the concert footage. And that is such a standout here. August 30th, 1972, Lennon and Yoko Ono played two benefit concerts at Madison Square Garden. They did an afternoon matinee and then an evening show to raise funds for children with diabetes. These are the only full-length concerts Lennon did after the Beatles, with a full set list and a full band. Most of the songs are Lennon's solo material, but they also throw in a really great version of Come Together. The doc does a great job of throwing you right inside that moment in time. It's less a traditional music documentary and more kind of a snapshot of a turbulent era, and it captures John and Yoko in a new light. 1-to-1 is a good one. That concert footage is just tremendous. That alone pushes it over the top. I would highly recommend this one. Really good documentary. Just like these next two books that I would recommend. And the first one being a whopper, and that is the new Paul McCartney book that came out called Wings, the story of a band on the run. It's an in-depth oral history of the post-Beatles band that he started up, Wings, that draws on interviews with McCartney, with different band members. Family members are in here, others close to them during this time. It is 528 pages. It is a big read. Like I said, it's a big one. This thing is rich in quotes, has a ton of photos, a ton of behind-the-scenes stories and memories, and I think it may appeal more to diehard fans than general readers. It goes deep, but no doubt it is packed with fascinating details and memories about Wings. I enjoyed it because it kind of sheds new light on what happened after the Beatles breakup, and it looks at all the touring and how Paul was adjusting and surviving all the adversity. It's definitely not a memoir or just Paul's recollection of forming of Wings. There's a lot of different contributions here, so I wanted to mention that. Completists will definitely enjoy this, but it could come off as a little much for just a casual Beatles fan, no doubt. Wings, the story of Band on the Run, is that new McCartney book. All right, this next book I wanted to mention is the complete opposite of the McCartney book because it's an alternative look at the Beatles, and especially more focused on John Lennon. The book is written by writer Paul Levinson, and it's called It's Real Life. Yes, right off the bat, you can see where this is going with its slight change of the song Real Love title. There's a lot of slight changes in this book here because it's an alternative reality story. The main character of the book steps into a world where John Lennon is still alive, and he does all he can to go back to his world and stop his death. Levinson's love and knowledge of the Beatles' history here is strong, and it comes through in a multitude of insight and playful ways. You also get fictitious inclusions in the story from Tom Petty. Leonard Cohen pops up, and even David Bowie. I enjoyed the concept. It's a love letter in a lot of ways. It's fun, and I liked it because it offers something different for Beatles fans. I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more if it created more depth of the characters. It does require a ton of suspension of disbelief. I'm not the biggest time travel fan, but because it involved a lot of rock and roll nostalgia, it kept my interest. Check this one out for something different about the Beatles. It's called It's Real Life. I do want to say one more thing about that Paul McCartney Wings book, because there's a new documentary coming out this month called Man on the Run, which is going to be kind of like the visual presentation of the book. So the documentary comes out on February 20th. That's in a couple weeks here, of McCartney's story of Wings. I will definitely be doing a full show spotlighting that when it comes out. This next project, I just spent the whole weekend watching, and it reignited my love and appreciation for it. Going to talk about a Beatles classic redone and added to next. What is my favorite thing to talk about? Obviously, rock and roll books and documentaries, but coming in a close second is the free books I get to give away. I love giving away books to people who are really interested in the content and really interested in the subject matter. This month, Pink Floyd fans, I've got a great one for you because there's a new book out about David Glimour. It's a book of photographs that was put together by his wife, Polly Sampson, and the photos are all about Gilmour's last record, Luck and Strange. There's photos of the making of the record, there's photos of the rehearsal leading up to the tour, and then there's great photos of the tour that he was on. Very personal, very intimate. It's his wife taking the pictures, so she has access that no one else has. I'm giving away this book. There's a couple ways to win it. One, send me an email at info@rocktalkstudio.com. Say Big Rick, hook me up, and I'll put you into the contest. You can also join my free newsletter. It comes out once a month, and it takes this show and kind of expands on it. It gives you everything you need to know about the world of rock and roll books and documentaries. The link to that, it's a free subscription, is in the show notes to this show. So just a little blurb about the show. You'll find a little link to my Substack, and that'll give you free access and entry into winning this really cool David Glimour book. Good luck, everybody. The Beatles released the original The Beatles Anthology in 1995. Remember when that thing came out? It was huge. It was released on multiple fronts. You had the 3 expansive CD box set that was packed with all this unreleased studio material, alternative takes, and rarities. And on television, if you remember, it appeared as an 8-hour documentary on ABC, which ABC changed their call letters to A Beatles C as a promo. And this documentary is back and repackaged. Director Peter Jackson and his team, who turned all that great outtake footage from the 1970s Let It Be documentary into that must-watch Beatles mini-series, or maxi-series, actually. It was 8 hours, the Get Back series that came out on Disney. He did some restoration work here, and so did engineer Jeff Emmerich. It looks fantastic, and it sounds amazing. This new version is just as spectacular as the old version. It still feels lively and compelling rather than dated, and you get a bunch of familiar material with a fresh polish. That's the way I like to look at it. You get a bonus episode also. Originally it came out with 8 episodes. Now there's a bonus episode number 9 filled with kind of long buried edits and outtakes. It plays like a genuine reward for devoted fans. That's the way I look at that extra one. Some of the stuff has been seen around before, but it's a nice inclusion. I mean, there's just no getting around this. This remains the most extensive and well put together account of the biggest band of all time, the Beatles. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I love talking rock and roll with you. I love talking Beatles with you, especially when there's some good stuff that just came out that I feel is not to be overlooked. Next week, there is a documentary that just came out about someone we haven't talked about in a long time because there just hasn't been that much stuff about the one and only Eddie Vedder. All right, let's tear it down, pack it up, and head on down the road. I'll catch you next time in the Rock Talk studio.